What is up, everybody, and welcome back to Italian Football TV, our Serie A experience show here with Marco Messina, Peter Curto, Michael Cantaris, and Antonio Cinque Palmi.
Cinque. Oh. That was great.
I'm embarrassed for you.
I had that plan for a long time.
We can't let them do
Listen,
that.
don't worry. My turn to speak is going to come, and then I'm going to let them have it.
Should we cut this part out of the podcast?
No, you can leave it.
Leave it?
Actually, that's the fun part.
Are you sure?
I like to have fun.
How was your day going today?
Look,
It's good?
the 5 hit.
Just want to make sure you're.
You see what
good?
he's doing?
I'm making sure your eyesight is good. How many fingers do I have on?
How many I held?
5-1, right?
That's how much you scored.
That's it. 5-1. Show the
There you
camera.
go,
Show the
Pete.
camera.
That's for you.
That's good. That's good.
You believe these guys? No,
It's
that's
I believe it. For people that they never won anything, they are just clinging on a game.
Crumbs.
On a game.
You know what this reminds me of? The carburetor.
The carburetor.
You're
Yeah,
carbureting
by the
right
way,
now.
that word has been double checked,
Exactly.
and
It
we
was
are
correct.
in need of carbureting right
know.
now.
You are
the mix
carbureting.
of a fuel and air is not
Carburazione.
quite right. Okay, so do I have the rights to start and to comment? Do I
You
have
don't
to
have the
listen to
rights.
proper
You have the
rights?
right to speak.
What's this
All right,
highlight?
first let him say whatever he
I
had to
think
say.
we should start. Listen, Antonio, if you won, you will go crazy. We would all make fun of Peter. Peter won, so it's right that we.
That's
that we
fine.
start
I'm
with
taking
this.
it. it's fine.
It's
fine.
fine. Good
It's
fun.
fine.
Come on. We know.
Fun
Okay.
for who?
Well, in 2023, Inter has had a lot of fun, but, you know.
You know that you guys have not won a game in 2023 against Inter. You only scored one goal.
Of course, if you have Pioli on the bench, you're never going to win a game against
They
them.
won the Scudetto
Pioli is the
with them. They
problem.
won the
I thought
Pioli,
Pioli was on
was on
fire.
fire.
Okay, let me just say something, please. Okay.
Pioli's burnt now. He's no longer on fire.
Okay, this guy here, he's been selected to be coaching AC Milan, right? All right, fine. Got the job. He won the championship with AC Milan thanks to Maldini, Ibrahimovic, and
Gazidis.
what is that Gazidis?
He wasn't part of it?
Just leave a part. Yeah, Gazidis.
Is that the Australian guy?
No, the Greek guy.
5 goals.
All right. So anyway, the first one, you make a mistake. You miss the
He did
first
a 5
game.
again.
You
He
lost.
did a 5 again.
Same
You see that?
formation. Third game, you
Mike.
lose. Fourth game. How many games you need to lose to
What are
learn
you
your
talking
fucking
about?
I think it was
lessons?
5 games, actually.
5 games.
It was 5 games.
So Pioli needs to be taken to task, and he needs to be told, hey, by the way, watch at least the tape of the last derby and learn from it. This guy doesn't seem
He
to
got
be
it
learning.
so wrong. That might be the most surprising thing.
I do not blame any player on AC Milan. I blame the coaching staff, him and his double that is next to him. I forgot his name. What's his
He
name?
looks just like him.
Okay, so
Lukaku scored, by the way.
when it comes down to just play a derby, you have to just put you don't have the best formation, but at least try to not to outsmart Inzaghi. At least try to play the best way you can. The card that have been dealt to you. You don't have the defenders. Okay, do not leave only 2 old timers over there like Calabria is not a defender we know. Kajer, whatever. It's 90 years old. I mean, Thiago is still learning his job. Thiago is still learning his job. So,
Well, yeah, nobody else to put in. Kalulu's injured and Tomori's not there.
Tomori's
But
not
besides
there.
just the defending, though, it's the getting caught on the counterattack, which is so surprising because I know Milan, they like to attack, they like to go forward. But we all sat here, we're freaking in Brooklyn, and we said, Milan pushed so many numbers forward, and Inter are counterattack specialists. We've seen it 5 times already, and
But
now
that's
the
what I
fact
was
that
saying before.
they didn't do
Why-
anything to at
how
least
does-
try to hide that.
But how does Pioli is not learning from that? Despite the fact that just because you do not have a defenders, you have to just look to solidify the back line. But the guy didn't do it. He actually exposed them more. You push Hernandez up, you push Calabria up, you only leave Krunic to try to fend off a little bit some of the mistakes that in the midfield were made. And that's what the results are. On the top of the referees just not calling the foul on Theo Hernandez on the first goal and giving that freebies as a penalty. I mean, we know that we have the referees against us all the time.
Come on.
This loss had nothing to do with the referee.
You lost 5-1. The penalty was a clear penalty.
Listen to me. No, it was
was
not a clear
yes, it
penalty.
was.
Anyway, it was very soft, very soft. And on the Theo Hernandez on the first goal, it was a clear foul. It looked at the VAR. The guy should have just Say there's no goal, it's a foul, end of the story. The Hernandez was charging toward to the ball,
And
the guy
Dumfries.
threw him off, and that's it. Don't tell me that it was not a free kick over there for AC Milan. But no excuses. Is Pioli is not capable to place the team on the field when it comes down to Inter. We're doing very well. Inter is a team that you have to just step on and just rub it on them. But we let Inter just walk on I don't know, on cream.
Well, the thing is, when you step on something, you have to be
Nothing,
smaller.
man.
Unfortunately, Inter right now
What you got away
is
with words,
here,
Anto.
and Milan is here.
No, it's not. AC Milan is not that.
Well,
It's not
5
that
goals
It's
does not
okay.
show.
It's only one game. You're
a
going to
team-
choke up. You're going to
Listen,
choke.
it's not about being one game or not. I think this game was definitely conditioned by Inter scoring first right away. Because what it allowed Inter to do was to sit back and just have you guys play your same style over and over again. You have speed now. You have players now that Pioli did not have in years past. And he doesn't know how to attack that space in behind the defenders. Inter's defense, especially, one of the biggest weakness is being able to track fast players. So when you have Leao on one side and Pulisic on the other, and you keep on just moving the ball side to side, you give Inter.
No,
all
we
the-
didn't move the ball side to side. We moved the ball only to the right hand side. The layout didn't touch
but
more than
what-
2-3
but
balls.
the thing was,
all the
the
game
ball-
was
One of them was
played
a
on the
goal.
right hand side.
Listen, the ball
Despite
movement.
of the goal that he scored,
Anto,
Leao didn't
Anto,
get the touch no more than
Anto,
4 or 5
because
balls.
Inter defended well. What I'm trying to say is there was nobody taking a man on and nobody trying to get the ball over the top. Unfortunately, right, we see the modern game. Everybody wants to play this little simple ball, moving the ball on the ground, but you also have to be able to attack the space. Leao, believe it or not, had a couple of chances when he got in behind the defense. There was either a little scramble in the area, or wasn't able to get clean contact to the ball. But that's how you had to attack. Somebody that can distribute the ball in the midfield, which unfortunately with Benacer out, Milan is lacking. They don't have the replacement that can hit the ball where he
Let
should
me
hit
just
it.
tell you something.
I don't
Up
know.
to the 2-1, up to the scoring being 2-1 when Leao scored, the game was not that far off. Of course, the teams were placed it very. The AC Milan was placed on the field. They had to go all the way because first of all, you found yourself down after 5 minutes. You have to just change the game. You have to just change plans regardless. But Pioli didn't change anything. Pioli did let the team play exactly the same way, just exposed on the back and all the way to from 3/4 and up and pressing. So what do you do with that? You have a slow defender. Look here, you got like a couple times. They could have scored on us at least another couple times, Inter, because it is what it is. You have a 10 years on one players. What are you gonna do? The guy can only just hit the ball. You cannot really. Calabria, it's like a piece of brick. You leave him over there. Anybody can jump him. That's why they're not using him as a defender.
Listen, Inter, I think in the first half, I was upset with not being able to get hold of the possession because at times we were just giving it up to Milan right away. And Milan, like I said, with the possession, did very little.
72% possession
but
in the
that
first
doesn't mean
half.
anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No, but
Doesn't mean
that's
anything.
my point. My point is you had the ball. When you have the ball, you have to make something happen. And I feel like Inter, the 72% possession doesn't mean anything because Inter allowed Milan to have that.
They were playing 11 people,
Exactly.
11
You know what I'm
people on that box. They were all 11 on the box. Come
It's
on.
aside from that, Anto. Inter did this game plan exactly how Inzaghi
It was
wanted it.
perfection.
And
it was perfection from Inter.
And the players that we have, we're able to play either possession based or even go on the counter
Listen,
and be
put
able to
two
score.
screen in front of you. The last game that Inter played against the AC Milan and the game of Saturday, exactly the same. And put actually 3 or 4 screens or 5 screens, one next to the other, is exactly the same game plan.
but
it's not that you need to figure something out. Just watch the game before. The game before last, the game before last is exactly the same
you have a different
shit.
team, but you have
you get punished the same way.
But you have a different
What's
team than
there
you
that
did
you're
in the
not
past?
capable to understand? It's Pioli's fault. End of the story. Pioli, if you listen to me, if you're looking at this podcast, you need to just get over yourself. And you have to play teams of this kind of a style in a different way. Maybe you want to come and sit down over here so I can talk to you one-on-one because you're not going to be winning games like that. That's
Anto,
it.
Pioli's fault, yes, but
Not entirely.
Inzaghi played this game perfectly, okay? And even his substitutions, I was here with Gaetano, and you guys heard me. I was upset. Why Frattesi is going in for Barella? You don't take Barella out of the game. Mkhitaryan scores 5 minutes later. So whether it's intuition, whether it's luck, doesn't really change anything. He made the right choices. Even starting Mkhitaryan, who gets the early goal, and then Frattesi coming in and scoring that goal. So Inzaghi has been able to make these right substitutions, and I said it before. I think Inzaghi has made an evolution in this year, in 2023, the calendar year, where towards the second half of the season, even though we were losing games in the Serie A, the idea was when it came down to a big match, he was able to put together a perfect game plan.
So you made this jump. So technically, you're gonna win the campionato.
Didn't
Just
say
say
that.
it.
I didn't say that.
Why wouldn't you?
We're in good position too.
Are you gonna win? To me, if you're not making a statement right now,
Well, Inter has to win the Scudetto.
He's playing the Inzaghi route.
Okay.
This year, Inter has to win the Scudetto.
Now you're gonna have to win the
because-
Scudetto.
Yeah, no, of course.
Everybody,
But-
we are on record. What day is today? The 17th?
17th of September.
Okay, July.
But this is nothing
September
new.
17, 2023.
Anto,
What time?
4:38.
Anto, this is nothing
4:38
new.
p.m. Inter has to win the Scudetto.
Anto, this is nothing new.
Short of not winning the Scudetto.
Why, Milan not winning the
you
Scudetto is
bet-
not a failure? You wanted the 2 stars. You were saying
What
that
are you
all
talking
beginning of the
about?
season.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
I never said
yes,
that.
you did. Yes, you did.
Find me.
Oh, I'll find you. There's a record.
I never said that.
Oh, we'll get it. We'll get Mike
I said we're gonna make it to the first four
No.
cases.
Guys, let's break this down real quick, right?
Yeah. Inter, they're gonna win.
Let's break this down. We did the Milan side. We did the Milan side. I agree with you, Pioli. For me, the way that you put the team out is it's a naive way to put out the team because you played right into the hands of Inter. And we said it all here a couple days before the match happened on what would happen, and it played out exactly to that fact. Inter, first of all, on the Scudetto, you have the best team in the Serie A. It's for sure. The way that you play is the best style. Very vertical, very direct. You're
You
able to
have to
change
win.
in different ways. The bench that you have is unbelievable. Even, I was looking, Pavard didn't even get into the match.
Pavard, Sensi, who was...
A
So
lot
you
of,
have to win.
a lot of different players didn't come into this match that you have the quality. Now let's break it down how great Inter were, because we did the Milan side. Let's give them the credit. Marcus Thuram played an unbelievable match. A guy that I had question marks about because I said Inter's not really playing a pure number 9, and just for the way that I like teams, I love a 9. But the way that he helps out the team, the way that he works for the team, the way that he opens up space for everybody else is unbelievable. The fact that he did that on so many different occasions, and then he also, because a lot of times he kept laying off the ball, and we're like, all right, that's great, but you want to see a striker that's a little bit more selfish, and he pulls that out of his hat on the second goal, which was a beautiful finish. It's crazy to see how dynamic his game is, and the fact that we got 5 Inter goals and none of them came from Lautaro, that shows you how good this team really is.
No, I mean, Thuram, we knew of his qualities and what he could add to this Inter team, but we had the question mark, can he be as that number 9 to replace a Lukaku? So far, he's been, the last 2 games especially, he's been more than a Lukaku. For me, and especially showing his qualities, being able to work after every ball. I think one difference between him and Lukaku is when we defend, you have a Thuram who's going to be a pest. So when you have him and Lautaro running after every last ball as if it meant their life, that's always something great to see and shows the hunger of the player. And then the shot, I mean, really. Chow maybe could have pushed him towards the left, but nothing the goalkeeper can do. Magnan, and once that ball took off from his foot, it was going right into the 7. That's where it ended up.
Listen, go ahead.
Peter, I want to ask you a question. I think before the match started, you're even talking about Frattesi and starting or whatever the case is, and talking a little bit about Mkhitaryan. I thought Mkhitaryan had a good game. Well, he did. It's not me thinking. Got 2 goals, got an assist. And Frattesi coming off the bench, he got a goal also. So it just shows how well oiled Inter are in every single position. I know a lot of Inter fans are frantic in wanting Frattesi to start. Do you think he should do you care how quickly he starts, or are you happy right now with the XI and ease him into the starting lineup?
Listen, when you deal with a big team, spots are limited, so you have to work every single day.
Yeah, improve
and I
yourself.
think Mkhitaryan obviously has the upper hand because of his experience, knowing Inzaghi's style, and he was fundamental in the run for Inter deep in the Champions League to get to the final. So I think Inzaghi said, hey, Mkhitaryan, this is his job. It's now Frattesi's time to win it. And at the same time, the season is long. There's Champions League, there's Coppa Italia, Serie A game. Like, we're going to need to rotate these guys. So it's a matter of just time. And listen, Mkhitaryan, he's feeling maybe the pressure. and he's a diamond. He's able to score these 2 goals versus a Milan. And even the assist that you brought up, which was a beautifully laid ball.
He's showing up.
So listen, I was in shock where Mkhitaryan didn't get off, because I figured this guy's older. We saw Barella and Frattesi play with the Italian national team, that they can exist and coexist within a midfield. So I think it's just a good problem for Inter and for Inzaghi.
Let me tell you something. I want to just finish up about this game here, because we have other stuff to talk
I don't want
about.
to finish up there. I still got more to talk.
You just got started? Okay, I'm just getting a little bit desensitized to the fact that Pioli is not capable. It doesn't have the eye of the tiger. Look Inzaghi. Inzaghi's got anger.
First, you didn't like Inzaghi.
Well, listen to me.
You're making fun
I
of
don't
him on
like
the
him,
sidelines.
but what I like about it is intensity.
Yeah.
He transmitted his intensity to this player. Look, Pioli, he's talking to his double all the time. What is it that you're talking
double.
about?
His
You're
stunt
supposed
double.
to instigate the beast that you have on the field. You're supposed to instigate them. The eye of the tiger is not on Pioli. Right now, it's Inzaghi that has the eye of the tiger.
Inzaghi's doing unbelievable.
Okay, number 1. Number
I agree.
2, you keep playing the same game, and I'm going to keep repeating it until it gets to you. The things that I like about what happened Saturday is that maybe it's a full spectrum and television for the rest of the team to show what the mistake that AC Milan made when you play Inter, not to make exactly the same mistake that Pioli made when you face a team like that.
But how do you face Inter?
How do you face it?
How do you genuinely, how do you take this down? Because they're able to change the way that they want to play.
For example, okay, great question. Okay, I like
Thank
the
you.
question. First of all, Italiano pretty much almost has the same kind of a style of playing that AC Milan has right now. Italiano is going to have to sit back a little bit more, just come back a little bit more and wait for something to happen and then attack
Well, they
Inter
got
on the
smacked.
counter.
They got smacked by Inter.
Well,
Italiano, they lost 4-0, right? It
4-0.
was-
what I'm saying right
Very
now,
similar.
I'm just bringing the Fiorentina as one of the teams that plays almost the same style of AC Milan. Juventus is right now is changing the style. Juventus is gonna just go back a little bit, not really playing defense, but just clog the midfield and just match the formation. Go with the 3-5-2 or 3-4 or a 4-3-3, something like that. But do not let Inzaghi just overwhelm me on the midfield. AC Milan has got a spectacular midfield, but we had no defense.
I think
The problem is the patterns that you guys make, though. It's very, because I think that in the past when I watched Inter, the only way that I saw that you really break them down is through the press. That's the only way, because once you start letting them play a little bit, or even when they don't have the ball, that you're already dangerous, because 2-3 passes and you're very vertical towards the goal, so they get you cut out. The only way is if you're good at the pass. But again, now this is a team that you've played together for a long time. You understand how everybody works. It becomes very difficult to stop that. And the thing that I think you've changed this year compared to last year and the years before with Inzaghi is you become a mature team. You go out there and it's professional performance. Everybody, not only are they good technically, but they got a ferocity to the game. They're mean, but they do their job, and it's I don't know how to explain it, but the best way is professional.
Marco, in Italy we say devi giocare a uomo. You have to just play man to man. You're gonna have to play the man to man, a uomo. A uomo means you have to just get somebody glued on each one of the players and follow them, even when the game is not it's away from them. You have to just do not let them breathe and just play the game that they play. That's the only way you take Inter out.
Listen,
and just you take them out of their own game.
Milan in the first half, they dominated possession. They had the ball. Okay? The issue is how you kind of attack with all these numbers, right? You need to have a little bit more balance and be aware of the counterattack. And I think that's where Pioli at times is too, I guess, has too much pride maybe in the style of his play, and this is how we're gonna live and die by the sword. And that's what I saw. And I
should have
think
been able
also
to adapt.
Yeah, and the adaptation, but it comes from, you know, when you have that possession, 72%, like what do you do with it? Right? And if you're just moving the ball side to side, you need to be able to drag Inter out, pull them out, be able to hit a ball long, diagonal. There was nothing for Leao to run in behind the space because Inter was sitting back, compact, and there's no space to run.
One question before we move on, because then we got to move on. I know this is the biggest game, one of the biggest games in Italy. I know this is probably knee-jerk, but it was already a topic that I think a lot of us thought, or even Milan fans at home have always felt, yes, you're very happy with what Pioli has done for you. I think he came in at the right time for Milan. He did his job. He was like a father figure more than anything, right? Where he was handling a very young team. But tactically, I don't think that he's anybody that we would rave about, right? It was more so his personality that helped lead the team. Do you think that you'll see a change? I'm not saying mid-season, I'm not saying anything, but by the end of the season, Milan will look for a new coach, not just based on this game.
Let me tell you something. One of the reasons why you don't see Maldini over there is because Maldini had a problem with this. Okay? Maldini wanted the Pioli out, even though it's not in the open, but Maldini wanted the Pioli out.
How do you know?
I know it. I have my own informant somewhere. So what happened is...
For clarity, Antonio's saying what his opinion is.
Listen. Maldini is a defensive beast. Maldini knows when the defense is not fluid. So Maldini knows what tactically the defense is supposed to be doing. If Theo Hernandez is coming up full speed, and then you are afraid of the counter on people that they have the same kind of a speed with you on the side, you're supposed to back him up. So when you get caught too far up and you do not have the backing, then you are exposing yourself to major trouble. And this is what I think. Look at the semi-final, the two derby of the semi-final of the Champions League. This is what happened again. So Maldini, I'm sure he had a lot of talk to this guy. They had a lot going on, and it seems that Pioli never wanted to listen to Maldini's style of playing soccer. In other words, Maldini is not the type that wants to play defense, but he does not want the defense to be totally open to be penetrated like a butter.
I also think that we had this conversation before. If Milan didn't sign a defender, so it's not just from now.
And we let go of what's his name? Gabbia. Come on, we need young guys over there, and you let Gabbia go for who?
I think you needed to invest in the defense. That was something that I had before. Either way, I'm going to make a very wild prediction. This is just completely off the top of my head, random. 12 months from now, or 8 months from now, I think Milan bring De Zerbi in as a coach.
I don't know.
A weird feeling.
I don't know if De Zerbi is going to quit the job of them. De Zerbi
I think he's going to want to stay in the Prem.
Oh, but he's not going to get. I don't think he'll get top 4. And
I think he'll go to a good team in the Prem.
Who's not going to go top 4?
You don't think
something has to move out. Brighton's not.
Exactly.
I don't think Brighton gets to top 4.
No. I'm saying a good team in the Prem will definitely go for him.
I'm not saying that he couldn't.
Then what are you saying?
I'm saying I'm making a prediction that he ends up going to Milan.
I think he'd want to show his talent.
Because you need somebody in the top 4. You need them to not become coach anymore. Somebody needs to sack the coach.
Which is very possible.
I mean, usually if you get top 4, you don't sack your coach.
So a team like Chelsea, I mean,
but they're not getting top 4.
No, I'm saying if they need a coach, I'm trying to say.
He's not going to go. Why would he go to Chelsea?
I'm just saying if a top team like that, or even Manchester United that's not doing good, I could see someone.
But my point is,
that.
if you get top 4 in Premier League, usually you don't switch your coach.
Yeah. But I'm saying for the teams that don't finish in top 4.
Okay, but I think his next step has to be for a Champions League team.
Top team.
Yeah, but I think it has to come down to the right terms, because to go to a Champions League team is great, but if there's no money that's going to be spent, it's like, hey, I need players.
Milan has a great squad though.
Let me tell you.
Don't forget, as a coach, you want players that you want that you can recognize.
You don't think he would love the team that Milan have?
You never know.
I feel like they fit his style really well. Besides defensively, a couple of key pieces, I think that he would run riot with the attack that Milan have.
Have the midfield.
Yeah, we got to move that midfield.
The midfield is great.
For the Zerbi?
Yeah.
Mike,
they
we
as-
have one
He's
of
a
the best
ball-playing
midfield.
midfield. And Benacer's coming back. You still got Musa on the bench. And I'm not saying that he's going to take over this exact squad. Of course, you're going to make adjustments. But the foundation, it's just literally a random thought that I have in my head that I could see De Zerbi going to Milan just for the style that he plays.
Listen.
And for the future of what this Milan management wants to bring in. They want a younger coach, a more modern coach. That's how I feel.
He might be interested. That's a good prediction. But I feel like he might be interested now in that Prem game, and seeing how well he's doing there. I feel like a lot of.
But he needs a job to
Prem-
open up, is my point.
No, I get that. Of course, just like any other team for the most part.
Milan could be the one that they
Hey.
can finish top 4 and still sack
got
Pioli. You know what I'm
news.
trying to say?
No, I know,
You
but
know what?
there's a lot of teams in trouble in the Prem that could be looking for other options. And the Zerbi that's balling right now, I feel like he could be a good suitor for
but the
a
Zerbi's
top
also
team.
Italian, so I think he'll always be.
Listen, forget about that.
Fast
Chelsea,
Yeah,
especially for
Chelsea's
Milan.
good for.
But Chelsea's not going to get top 4. He's not. His next jump is to go Champions League.
What about, do you think
But it's a big team. He can bring them to that. I get what you're trying to say. You don't. Because first of all, a lot of Italian managers have been there before. They could be. They're not doing so hard right now.
If you're
And
De
De
Zerbi,
Zerbi's doing very
Mike, if you're
well.
De Zerbi, would you choose Chelsea or Milan to coach?
First of all, there's a lot of things like salary. I think
Okay,
he'll be
you. I'm
making
just
more
saying-
of
I'm
Chelsea.
saying you.
Answer the question.
Well, tell me there's a lot of other factors than
you
just
are
one
that
thing.
Zerbi,
$5 million a year at Milan.
Okay.
Currently in the Champions League. $8 million a year at Chelsea.
Okay, what's a budget that I get at Chelsea? Because I think it's gonna be a bigger budget in Chelsea than Milan. Let's
They
be
already
realistic.
spent a lot of money. They already spent a big amount of money. So you
don't
got the
think
squad that you
there's
have.
nothing to spend?
A little bit.
I mean, if it's that close, if there's no budget at Chelsea, then it could be enticing to go to Milan. I'm not saying it's not, but if Chelsea could spend a lot of money and you can get a bigger salary, I can see him going to Chelsea.
Listen, I'll tell
It's
you
not
why.
easy.
I think
it's
for
not
an
easy-
Italian, I think for an
it's not an
Italian to
easy
reject a
choice.
Milan that's in
Ask
Champions
me
League
the
would be
same
tough.
question, please. Ask me the
Just answer it, you heard it.
That's my answer.
And then we're moving on, guys.
I want to give one more chance to Pioli to learn from his mistake. And if it's not,
You have
don't
one more
to-
derby at least.
If you do not, you don't have to go to De Zerbi. You don't have to go to the big coaches.
Who are you gonna go for?
You want something? Hey,
Francesco.
I got an American friend of mine. The Cardinale might make a phone call. He has to speak English with him.
All right.
He has to speak English.
Let's
to
move
this
on.
guy.
Let's move on.
What is
Don't
happening?
even say it.
What
We
is
understood.
that?
You know who it
We
is,
understand.
right? Okay.
We'll see how this season goes.
Draw your own
It's
conclusion.
so early, man.
Draw your own conclusions.
It's
Okay.
so early.
Yo, let's go on to the next game. You guys want to do Juventus
Let's do
Lazio?
Fiorentina, because I was watching. Was the last game that I watched. It was
Go on. Okay,
interesting.
tell us
It was-
what you thought
it
about
was
Fiorentina.
Atalanta. Oh, yeah.
3-2.
Surprising.
The game was an even game, like counter here, counter there. You know, it was a decent
They
game
were
to
down
watch.
2-0 Fiorentina.
Yeah, well, what are you talking
No,
about? They were
1-1.
up
No,
2-0.
no.
Fiorentina was winning 2-0. What kind of
No.
game were you watching?
2-1.
Oh, yeah, it was 1-1. It was 1-1.
1-1, 2-1, and then 2-2.
I got confused with Frosinone.
Okay. So Fiorentina has got a style of playing that is just, the intensity, it just overwhelms you. They play 90 minutes non-stop. E la squadra, the way we say, è corta. Those 90 minutes, they're not stretched to the full length of the field. They play half field. Fiorentina plays, okay.
In a more narrow.
Yes. It's the
more
the
centrally. They play more centrally. They don't play wide.
They move up and down like a unit in half of the field. So that's why energetically do not spend a lot. And I think the game is so close to everybody. They go attacking the ball handler of the opposite team. They have a great squad and a great system that Italiano is teaching them how to play. With the new addition that they have right now, this team, I think, is going to be making definitely UEFA. I can see that as a surprise. If some of the big guns over here they slip up, I think maybe not the champion, but definitely they start the fight. Yes, they are.
I don't think that's not really a crazy take.
What do you mean? That's not a crazy
I
thing.
mean-
Oh, there is Lazio.
that means that they're moving up one more
Roma,
place than
I
they
mean,
finished last
to be
season.
fair,
It's not
they-
crazy.
To be honest with you,
Well, the
if you're
move-
saying top four, then that's crazy.
Well, to be fair, they wouldn't have been if Juve were now. They would have been one below, so it would be
Okay.
two technically, right? Two
Okay.
spots. Yeah.
Well, the year before, then they got Conference League.
Yeah,
I don't
the
think
year
it's
before.
Not, it's not
Yeah,
a
it's not
crazy
crazy.
thing to
It's
see
not
them
crazy.
with the way that the squad plays, and Giacomo Bonaventura is still
it's good.
one of their best players. It's actually there's some players like him in Serie A that maybe for the last decade are so underrated.
they didn't even use
but they
Barak coming
consistently
5 minutes before the
Performed,
end of
came
the
back
game.
from injury. But listen, Bonaventura is one of those guys. He's an old school soccer player where technique wise, you can't beat him.
Very good.
His ability to be able to trap that ball, hit it off the volley. He's always been
Sick
a
goal.
technically very sound player. What he lacks maybe is the physicality, the agility, and the more modern
He
style.
doesn't
of
look
play.
like if
He's
you
not that
if you
type
watch
of-
that guy walk down the street, right?
Yeah, you
and you
wouldn't
told
expect.
somebody in America, oh, this guy is one of the best players in Italy for the last years. You see him, he's a little guy, no
Yeah.
tattoos, he's got nothing. He doesn't look like your footballer, your classic footballer, yet he's so good on the
Well,
ball.
listen, it's soccer. That's the beauty of the sport. It doesn't matter how big, how small.
And how many tattoos you have,
It
right?
depends on the skill level. It's a skill sport also. So that's something that we kind of lose and we've lost in the past years. Where now we've added to the whole football dimension where it's all heavy analytics and running into space and this and that.
Stats.
But it used to be technique and tactics. Those were the two parts of any game. And who passed away, Carlo Mazzone, right? His mention was, technique is for the rich and tactics is for the poor. So
Really?
that was his way of seeing the game, and that's how it was for a very long time. Now, going back to the discussion with Fiorentina, Italiano, for me, this is his third year, right? Now at Fiorentina. This is a very important season for him on a personal level, right? Because he wants to also aspire to do bigger, better things. I think the same way that you're criticizing Pioli, right? I think you have to do the same thing with Italiano, because his style, it's either his way or the highway, and he's gotten caught and burned a lot of times with Fiorentina. So I think if you want to criticize Pioli, then you have to also be able to criticize Italiano.
I will take Italiano de AC Milan anytime.
Okay, I understand, but his style of play, I saw in this game versus Atalanta, when you're up 3-2 with 15 minutes left, why is there these gaps within the midfield? Why are you giving Atalanta the chance to tie this game again? So you either win big or you could get hurt. So, like I said, I think I love his style. I love the energy that his teams play with, and they are fantastic to watch. But you have to also know how to win. That's the biggest thing, and I think that's something that Inzaghi has learned. Not to bring it back to Inter, but Inzaghi, his first couple of years, it was a matter of him trying to keep Bastoni all the way up. Whoever was the right back, everybody was playing up, and we got exposed.
You win
He
and
said,
die.
"Hey,
You
gotta
win and die with that plan. That's how it is.
In order to win, you have to also know how to manage the game, know how to defend the result and hold the result.
I wanted to yell at you, but that's a really very good point.
That's how I see it. I love Italiano. I think he's one of the next, interesting and upcoming
good point.
coach. But that's something that you have to learn.
One little pushback though.
Yeah.
I agree with you, and that's how I feel as well. It's a good. I like the analogy though with Inzaghi, because he definitely changed, and we even heard some players say the same thing. I feel like Fiorentina's defense though as well lets them down a lot. Like if he had better defenders, maybe he could get away with it a little bit more. But the center back position for me is always still the one that's up in the air a lot of the times.
Yes, but at the same time, you're playing a high line in the 90th minute in a Conference League final.
Yeah, you should still
what
adapt.
What are you doing?
Yeah, you should still adapt to what
you
you
need
have.
to be able to get that game to the extra overtime. So I don't want to criticize him for that, but that's my take on it, where his style of play, what he's able to do with the team that he has, because the team is good, but they're not these unbelievable superstars. Some smart moves this year. I think this kid Lucas Beltran is very interesting.
Yo, he's such a workhorse.
Yeah, workhorse, but
It's
also technique wise,
amazing.
you can see that he has the taste for goal.
His turn is really good. He got the ball one time, and his quick turn was brilliant.
And Inzola, even though he hasn't scored yet, this guy, with Spezia was unbelievable. So once he gets on his horse, he's gonna be something special. And then the question mark was Arthur, not to cut you off, but Arthur for right now has been
like him.
great, and I think he adds a level of experience, and also his ability is he's a Barcelona
qualities,
player,
yeah.
Juventus player, like he's always played at a high Champions League level. This is a quality signing for Fiorentina, especially the team that lost Amrabat and they lost their two strikers.
So how about Gasperini on the reverse?
Listen, well, Gasperini, he's been lately. There's a lot of these rumors and criticizing by some of his ex players that they moved on to sign with the different teams. That they said that Gasperini is a little sour when it comes down to be criticized and to be cursed out, to be actually manhandled by in some circumstances, because Gasperini is hands on. If you don't do exactly what he's asking you to do, you're gonna hear from him, and you're gonna hear sometimes things that you don't expect to hear. So in a way, I'm kind of surprised because he didn't give me that impression.
Really?
Oh yeah. He did not give me that impression.
He seems like that old school type of manager.
Yeah, but
he's got a stronghold over Atalanta as well.
A little too old school sometimes.
But the thing is, it kind of makes sense though, right? Like, I feel like this is one of those situations where who's really wrong here? Like, okay, Gasperini has these very rigid rules. He will speak to his players in a certain way. And I'm not saying his situation with Papu Gomez, where if he attacked him, okay, I'm not saying that that's good. But at the end of the day, Gasperini's system has worked so well at Atalanta, and he's made every player that's played under him has gotten better. Yeah. Usually, they've gone on to greater pastures, and then what have they done? There's very few players from those years that sold for big money that ended up really doing well at their clubs. A lot of them fell below where they were. So he put them in the right system. He allowed them to succeed. Yeah. They went on to make a lot more money. They made the club money, and then you kind of fell off. Besides one or two players, maybe Kessie and who else really came from that system and thrived?
I mean, there was a lot of backlash on Gasperini, and just because his system worked. Just because Gasperini's system worked doesn't mean there was some flaws to it. Not saying there's always pushback for everything. And it seemed like Demiral also wasn't happy with what happened. Like, a lot of people piggybacked on what happened with the backlash and all that stuff, saying it's a deeper problem. And it is very hard to go against someone like Gasperini, who, the city loves because of what they've done. But there's a lot of back-end stuff that us as fans really don't know about.
Let me just read the quote so that people have
more context.
Yeah, so they know. Mele, who's his former player, is the one who came out, who started this trend before Papu Gomez in the past. He said, you don't feel like a person under Gasperini. You feel like a number. You don't have any kind of rapport with the manager. He can torment you over weird things. For example, Højlund and I went to training together, but he didn't want us to drive back together because we could sit down, talk, and have fun on the way to training. He didn't want this, and he scolded me for it. Even with the club telling me I could take Rasmus to training because he didn't drive. I don't know if this is a typical Italian thing, but it's only one of the things that in the long run makes you mad and fed up. And then Demiral replied to this, saying that all of this was true. And then, of course, there was the famous story with Papu Gomez and Mele, where Papu Gomez was an unbelievable player under Gasperini during a Champions League match against Midtjylland. Papu Gomez was playing on one side of the field. Gasperini told him switch to the other side. Papu Gomez didn't want to because he was playing really well. He went into the locker room, and Gasperini, according to Papu Gomez, tried to hit him, and he said, I could have had a conversation, that's fine, but you can't come and physically attack me. Papu Gomez said he went to Perisic to try to clear this up and try to get him to do something against Gasperini. The next training session, Papu Gomez shows up to training. He apologizes to the team because he admits, I made a mistake in not listening to the manager's orders, which is the right thing to do as a captain. And he said, all I wanted is for Gasperini to say, I also should not have reacted in that way. I shouldn't have come to attack you. Gasperini refused to apologize, and that led to the downfall and Papu Gomez eventually leaving Atalanta, which was a beautiful thing.
So I don't want to pick any sides here. Gasperini did amazing things, but like we said, there's some stuff that hasn't been told. Obviously, there's, I don't think these players are making some stuff up. That there has to be some truth to it. But at the end of the day, for that Papu Gomez story, like, we don't know about the hitting or whatever happened. We're not sure if it's true or whatever the case is. If a coach tells you to switch positions, don't. Peter, as a player agent, you know more about this than us. despite what the player thinks, shouldn't you abide by the coach? And isn't the coach right in terms of this?
But Papu Gomez admitted that he made a mistake, and that happens with players. They make mistakes. He was in the moment, it's Champions League, whatever. He admitted that he was wrong.
He was mad that he didn't come up and seem like a bigger person and apologize.
Yeah,
what do you think on that part?
In the end, the coach is the one that's making decisions. So on the field, even if a player doesn't agree with something, you're going to do it because that's what the coaches want. What happens is that's when you get fragmented locker rooms, because it's not so much what goes on the field that makes a difference on a team, but it's what happens in the locker room and the feeling as a group. So with Gasperini, he's been notorious for doing these things while he was with Genoa. Then obviously with Inter, he failed, not even making it past 3 match days in that season. And then with Atalanta, it kind of worked out that it was a perfect reality for him, where he had a team that didn't have high expectations. He had his coaching methods that were suited for a younger players that don't have this ego, and his ability to be able to makeshift something and create a really unbelievable tactical preparation for every game. And then you have players that play under the system for 2-3 years. It's like you can be blindfolded and already the movements of the team. So that obviously propelled him to then go on and do great things within Champions League, consecutive years. And now we kind of see the burnout a little bit. Certain players falling off. It's not just Papu Gomez, also Malinovsky. Different guys when, you might be able to deal with it for a year, 2 years, but then after that, you're like, hey,
that's enough.
It's enough. So you kind of get fed up. But one thing I would say, and not so much for Gasperini or anybody, but I heard, a player say, like, how I look at it, sometimes the relationship of a coach with the player is so important, but at the same time, some of these players, they get too caught up on having a coach that's going to look after me like a son or something like that. It's not so much, like you want this coach that's going to be a father figure, but can this coach bring me to the next step of my career? Can by him and his methods make me better on the field and therefore make more money? So similar to what you said.
Good layoff to that. I looked up Freuler just to give the counter of that. Freuler's a player who left, and he responded to all these talks from his former players. He said a lot of these words surprised me. Without Gasperini, I would never be where I am today. I never would have gone to the national team, and I never would have played in Champions League. Without him, Atalanta would be nothing. I don't understand these players who are going out there and speaking bad of him. None of this makes sense. So that's the counter argument to it. And again, Malinovsky, you bring him up. Where's he playing now? Genoa, a team that just came from Serie B. So
and tied Napoli.
There's definitely a balance to it, and I think I think there's both sides to it, right? He can't. I think you're right. He can't coach those big names because they're not going to listen to him. Yeah. But he's in the perfect place. And hey, you want to play there? You got to listen to his rules. If not, they're fine by it. They're great at finding the next up and coming talent. The thing that I'm a little bit mad at Gasperini for. I'm with him on this side. I don't like him again in these games, not starting Scamacca, not starting.
I was about to get
a strong number 9 center forward. That's one thing I'm confused by.
How the hell are you not starting Scamacca? I mean, he brings him in 20 minutes when the game. I mean, it was tight when he brought him in, but hey, what the hell? Use the best players.
He scored 2 goals last game.
It's just unbelievable.
But he's very experimental. Like, compared to even when he had Muriel, Zapata, all these players, Malino, he rotated a lot of them. But he seems to be changing up top who starts, who's going to be playing behind the strikers.
CDK keeps starting.
Yeah, CDK.
He's awful.
What are you talking about? He didn't play bad.
Yeah, he loses every ball.
What kind of game did you watch?
He loses every ball.
Lost a lot of balls.
He played 20 minutes.
20 minutes. He lost a lot of balls. A lot of balls. If you're going to be critical of everybody. CDK, I have a soft spot for this kid. I know we made a mistake by just trading him, but I just hope I'm wrong. Okay? So,
listen, Atalanta, they got to be careful this year.
Some of the players are new, Marco, are new. They need some time.
They got to be careful.
I think they'll be okay. I just don't think they're gonna go.
What's okay?
Nothing special.
They won't get relegated.
Wow.
They won't have.
Yo, he's learning from
Wait,
Inzaghi
won't
now.
I think it was talking about
Yeah, he's-
Europa League, bro.
I was talking about top 4.
Yeah,
like,
there
you're
we
not doing
go.
anything
You're
special.
not talking
Where
about bottom
relegation-
four.
where relegation come
What the
from?
hell?
Listen,
Why
they didn't
not?
start so
Pay them
high.
a glass of water.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's-
why-
he's
why-
Inzaghi.
Why'd you bring up relegation?
Oh my God!
No,
Check,
no,
maybe
it's
it's
not
got
about-
temperature. Maybe
I
it's
was
got
going
We're
through
talking
the
about
list.
Europa League
I
and
was going
Champions
through the
League. What
list.
the hell? I thought
I
we
was
were talking
going-
about a different
I was
league.
going through the
Mike,
list.
say
Not
something.
gonna get
I
relegated.
just did.
Not
I'm
gonna be part of the
surprised you said
relegation
that.
battle.
I was,
They're gonna be mid-level team.
I was
I'm
saying
telling
fine
you.
for Europa
I'm
League,
telling
but
you,
why'd you
mid-level
bring up
team.
relegation?
All right,
That
all
was
You know, I
crazy.
think this guy here, he got ahead of himself because
The
Inter
Gasperini
won.
hates
Stop,
that.
hold it.
Gasperini
Can you not
hates
think
this
it?
guy.
You
Gasperini-
gotta stop.
I
Yo,
think
he's
stop
giving
right
you the
now.
five
He's getting
sign.
this on the
Stop,
clouds.
stop,
You know,
stop,
the
stop,
clouds
stop.
are for
You gotta
computer.
stop.
You're
You
just
gotta
still
stop.
flying on the
You gotta
clouds.
stop.
You
You
think
gotta
he was
stop.
Did
doing with the
Gasperini
hand?
hate you or something, Faisal?
What happened?
Did Gasperini hate you or something?
Gasperini for
got
me,
whacked in the head
I
a
think
couple times.
he's one of those. Listen, he's bitter as a coach too. When you see him, his press conference, everything,
Yeah,
he's always
he's
like
cold, he's cold.
antipatico. They say in
Yeah.
Italian.
How so?
I just
Antipatico.
He was
No.
gonna disagree with anything you said there just because you gave him the 5.
Antipasta.
High 5. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
High
Thank you, sir.
All right,
A lot of middle fingers there.
another coach that I'm a little bit scared of, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. You guys tell me if I am, because we don't want to overreact and have too much of a knee-jerk reaction.
Mourinho.
But one that I'm saying could lose the locker room
Oh,
if he doesn't be
boy.
careful is Rudi Garcia with Napoli. They tied 2-2 to Genoa, and not about the game and the lack of intensity. We could get into that. My thing is he takes out Kvara at the end. And players are usually they're known to be upset when they get subbed out, especially when a game is tied. And you see Kvara over there going like this to him, saying, "What the hell are you doing taking me out?" Yeah. And then I noticed if it was just that, okay, that happens within the team. That's something that number one you need to address. Then I see that he brings in Zerbin instead of Simeone, who Simeone is known as the next in line. And for a squad, for a team that just won everything, there's an order to things. Corrado was one of the most important players. You don't think they're in the locker room a little bit like, oh, what's this guy think that he's doing? Simeone is supposed to be the guy that comes in, if anything.
Even before Raspadori, to be honest with you, even
one-
Raspadori should have wait for Simeone first.
Am I reading too much into
No,
that?
you're not.
I mean, I was talking about last podcast about Rudi Garcia. The difference between him and Spalletti, I think, is a little troublesome, especially because when they lost to Lazio 2-1 the previous round, I was saying the strength of Spalletti was bouncing back from negative results. And I said last week, I was like, let me see how they bounce back.
It's a great point.
And now they were down 2-0. They ended up coming 2-2, whatever the case is, against a team coming from Serie B. And I think this is going to be very telling for the future. So, Marco, I don't want to jump the gun. I don't like jumping the gun early, whatever. It's still a few match days in. But it is worrying for a team that won last season by a long mile, months before May happened, to seeing these performances. They don't look like the same team. The way they're positioned, their defense, yeah, I guess you can say Kim wasn't there, but just how disciplined they are. They're not as disciplined as last season, and there's a lot of question marks with the players of how they're performing compared to last season. So, like I said, I don't want to jump the gun too early, but this is not good signs for Napoli so far for me.
Spalletti last year had a difficult beginning of the season as well.
Yeah.
Anytime,
But
you know,
not to, I mean, they just
Not
lost
like-
a game. They didn't lose a game until the new year against you.
no, that's true. But still, he didn't win every game in the beginning. So, you know, it's still, you have to give a little bit of time to Rudi Garcia, I think.
To do what? To do exactly what Spalletti left for him on a gold platter?
What I think,
Not exactly.
What I think is
Almost.
we're not understanding like psychology, because these Napoli players have just won a Scudetto, and this was an historic Scudetto. So in Napoli, this one is almost the equivalent of if a team has won 10 Scudetti. That type of enthusiasm, right? And now you get somebody else telling you what to do. It's not so easy to make that jump, make that adjustment. I use the Inter example with Mourinho. When you win a treble and then you get Rafa Benitez, who, with all due respect, is a great coach historically, but he didn't have that locker room, and he tried it. And we know the stories with Materazzi, what he said. You know, he tried to show that he was the boss and he's in command and he's going to do it his way. And you know what? The players, they're going to say, hey, we just won. You have to hold on. You have to earn our respect before anything else. So I'm not saying that's what's going on right now, but definitely I think the biggest issue is not so much Rudi Garcia and what he does on the tactical board, but how it is in the locker room. And, Kvaratskhelia being subbed off in the 90th minute, you're tied 2-2 for Zerbin. It's not to save his legs. He already played 90 minutes. It's 5 minutes left. You need somebody that's going to be able to
difference maker.
go
That
and
was
score.
very strange. That was strange to me.
But one thing I want to try to understand is like let's admit that Napoli might probably still suffering from the hangover that they won the campionato and all the stuff that were
I don't think it's a
the
hangover.
level of level of concentration is a little down.
Is it that, or is it the
is.
lack of obviously Kim played a big part
Lack
last
of
year
coaching.
Listen, Rachmani was not there during the game of yesterday, but
because he doesn't know who his best center back pairing is.
One Jesus, two Jesus, whatever.
Two
One
Jesus.
Jesus is not a
guy's
great
crazy.
defender to me.
He's not.
I have seen him playing all the time and time again. It's not.
I don't know. He played
pure
solid last season when he was
So
called
I
upon.
like not because I like Rachmani more, but I think Rachmani is
Ryan
more
is a starter.
It's a
All-in-out
starter.
starter.
Okay,
what I'm
so to you, is it that why? Because they're leaving lots of
It's
space
not just
defensively.
that. It's more
There's
than
players
just one
but,
center back.
Anto,
They
what
have
do you
a
think it is? Is it that technically that they lost Kim, or is it problems where he's saying motivation wise?
Well, it's the motivation, and what I see there is a gap. The Napoli during the game is been 90 minutes. During these 90 minutes, they have gaps that they just leave. They let the other team play. They're not there. They are not there.
They look like a shell of themselves at times.
Genoa
I agree with that.
not dominated. They played them one-on-one with not much. They were not really overdoing themselves. They were just matching them with the intensity
But they played
that
smart.
they had.
They played very smart,
So let me
Genoa.
tell you
They closed
something.
them very well.
They got two very good chances, Napoli, and they were lucky enough that the ball got in. Politano and whoever scored before him. Raspadori. So what I'm saying to you, that I was surprised that Simeone was not part of the subs that was supposed to be in. Simeone played a high dividend for the team last year, and he scored against AC Milan. I can never forget the goal that he scored. What he said, it's still hurting me.
I think he had one
On
of the
the first
best
one.
records for minute to goal ratio last year, and probably all of Europe.
Then you let
He's not
right.
Rudi Garcia, I don't think he's a fan of Simeone. He's not getting him many minutes.
Wait
at
a
all.
moment. You don't have to be a fan. You have to just be. You want your
You
team
have to win the game. You have to win the game.
I get it, but there's also coaches that players prefer, whether it's tracking back or work rate or whatever the case is. It doesn't. I think what's you have. I'll check how many
What
minutes
does
he has this season.
Zerbin has on Simeone, Mike? Come on.
I don't know what the case
What
is.
does Raspadori has on Simeone?
But
on
whatever
his,
the
on
case
his
is,
work
he
ethic?
prefers them over Simeone. That's what it looks like.
Simeone to me is more of a striker than Raspadori. Raspadori è una mezza punta.
But that has nothing to do because Raspadori ended up going into the game and scoring. So that's not the,
Well,
the
just
issue.
because- just
that's
wait.
not the issue. The issue is Kvaratskhelia got subbed
Guess how
out
many minutes he
and
played this
he
season?
chose Dead Zerbin instead of putting a striker that's going to go on and win the game.
5 minutes.
Simone,
Guys, you see what they're doing? Guys, I like to see when the Juventus is going to be scoring. Now they're giving me the 5 all the time. I give them my finger. But anyway, they're making fun of me. I mean, cinque.
Palmi.
5, and then 5. How many minutes did Simeone play? 5.
So yeah, 21
So
minutes.
They do the
25.
21 minutes this season.
Okay.
Too bad it's not a
It's
5-inch
okay. It's okay. It's okay. Guys, have fun until it lasts because it's not going to be fun.
Not for long,
Not
right?
for long. It's okay. You have a laugh. It's good to have a laugh. It's healthy. Okay.
Man.
So let's close this subject. I think Rudi Garcia need to step up a little bit and just work things out and just see what was done, what worked for Napoli last year, and why it's not working this year.
Spalletti worked for Napoli last season.
So I think what's his name? ADL is gonna have to sit down with him and said, "Hey, what's going on with
Take the Gasperini approach with him,
yeah,
right?
what's going on with?" I might do that, or take him to the pizzeria and say, "Hey, by the way, how would you like your pizza?" Okay.
Hopefully not like
he's
Messi.
paying.
Okay, so
Everyone's
even
going
know.
crazy about that.
so maybe you need a
Bro,
little
that was
spinach
disgusting.
on top
You
of
showed
that.
him?
didn't show
Oh,
him.
no.
I showed him. I
Yesterday,
showed him.
yeah, you showed him.
You saw
What?
the Messi pizza?
Messi's pizza, the Argentinian pizza with all
but-
tomato. Come on, Peter showed
Raw
you
onions.
yesterday.
The
Oh,
olive.
raw onion. All right. So
I don't
I
think
you don't like that?
Rudi Garcia is he French? What is he?
French.
Rudi Garcia. Okay, Rudi Garcia is gonna switch
Guess what?
to the Vino Napoletano.
But guess what?
Forget about French wine.
Rudy Garcia is living in my mom's town.
You kidding me?
I swear to you.
Maybe
Oh,
that's why.
yeah. That's right. Meow, that's right.
Say your mom's
Monte
town.
di Procida,
There we
yeah.
go. Put
Yeah.
He's in a
And
villa.
this is the problem why it's kind of a messed
much
up.
wine.
He's drinking too much.
What's the distance to Napoli?
Not much, 45 minutes.
20 minutes, not even.
Oh, okay.
How are you saying
15
45
minutes.
minutes?
Yeah,
Like,
I like how
we've
he's
never
saying-
been there.
Because I checked my GPS before
No.
I came over here.
You
do
check
check
the
anything.
distance between Napoli and
One
the
other thing
rest
about
of the
Genoa, I know we're moving on, but Genoa, I really love the way that they're efficient with the goals that they
cities.
score.
Yeah, very efficient.
I was checking a lot of their last games. They have very few shots on target, but they score the chances that they get. You know, maybe one or two chances they squander. Retegui scores, who's obviously Italian international.
From
Again,
Canicattì.
all right, this guy from Canicattì.
Well, not him. His great grandfather.
His grandfather.
Okay.
Come on.
All right,
Let me ask-
everybody's from where you
Marco,
are.
let me ask you something.
I was
Since
just saying.
you brought it up, how much did they spend for
I think 12 million.
my goodness gracious, I said, this guy, he was brought in by Mancini to play in the Italian national team, and the big team, they passed on him. This is what I don't understand.
Oh, come on.
We needed the best. What are you talking about?
Who do you
The guy is going to be one of the best strikers in
Okay,
Serie
and
A.
Inter's gonna, or Milan or Juventus
For
will
12
take him
million,
after.
we needed the backup for Giroud, and now we.
Hey.
What are you
They could
talking
have went
about?
for him, to be fair. But either way, Genoa, the thing that I really like about them, their attitude, number one, the way that they play, very smart. We spoke about two other coaches who tried not to play a really great way.
16
like
million.
understanding
16 million.
16 million.
Very good price.
They understand what they had to do. They understand that we're playing against the champions of Italy. We can't go out there and overexpose ourselves. They stay contained. They stay compact. They broke out when they had to. The level of intensity that Genoa had and Napoli had were on two complete
yeah.
different spectrums.
sure.
And what I really loved is that after the match, every Genoa player is pissed off. They were so mad. You could see it as, okay, at least we got a point against Napoli. No, they were so annoyed in front of their home crowd
Right.
that pushed them forward the entire game. I'm telling you, Gilardino is doing something really good with this Genoa
But
side.
Marco, wait. What, they were standing in front of the curva kind of a silent. They were apologizing to the fans.
They're
What the-
mad that they
That's what
should have
they're
gotten
doing.
3 points
A-
against
a lot of the
Napoli.
teams-
I know,
that.
but why they were silent? Instead of going over there to celebrate, hey, we did the best we
We're
could
gonna
and things like
celebrate.
that.
They
dropped
were
the
up
2-0.
2-0. They're up
Listen, hey, you
2-0.
play Napoli. Hello, you
But
play
this is,
Napoli.
but it's a smart way of acting. Like, I like that kind of attitude, that they're not going to just be satisfied with just a tie. They played poor against Fiorentina, then they bounced back against Lazio and played the right way, and they've played Napoli in the right way. Gilardino, whatever the result may be, he put the team out in a smart way to try to limit a lot of Napoli's attacks. Yes, Napoli played bad, but you got to give credit to Gilardino and to Genoa, who played the match a good way.
Maybe Pioli needs to learn from Gilardino, that is just coaching for the first time in Serie A. How do you set up a team when you're facing team like Napoli, Inter, Milan, and things like that?
You know what I love about Gilardino? Because I went down a rabbit hole just looking him up, and his story is pretty cool. He was the Primavera coach, then they fired Blessin, who was a total disaster. That guy's all algorithms and stats and stuff.
Right,
He made
right,
no
right.
sense for that team. They brought him in, and from December to the end of the season, Genoa had the best record in Serie B, and they were able to get promoted. And he obviously was able to manage them in Serie A. But what I love about him is that he progressed his way up every step of the way. He coached in Serie D, in Serie C, in Serie B, and now Serie A.
You got
And-
sacked in Serie C with Siena.
but I love that you make those mistakes there. And I think some of the best coaches, okay, maybe there's an outlier like Zidane who goes from the Primavera to Real Madrid's first team. That's fine. But a lot of times these big name coaches, these coaches that he's a World Cup winner, Champions League winner, right? They want to just right away go to Serie A. But sometimes there's merit in making mistakes in the lower leagues and building up to where you got to go.
Hey, Mr.
Yeah.
Producer is here, guys.
Hey, producer, how you
Mr.
doing?
Producer!
Hey,
Mr. Producer!
How you doing?
We gotta fix the lock, producer. Vedi qua.
Harry, Harry, you will not believe what
How you doing?
Hey, look at it.
Salutiamo i
And they're waving
milanisti.
at you. Look at the 5. They're waving at you with the 5, Harry. They're waving with the 5. Yeah. Yeah, you can wave him like that, Harry.
Anyway.
What do you mean? Yes, you can. Yes, you
I was
can.
gonna do something else. I'm not on camera. Am I?
Yes, you are. Yeah, Harry, right there.
All right, let's talk about Juventus Lazio. I think that's the last game that we didn't
Oh, wow.
that we didn't get to before
Oh,
we
that's why I'm so smiling, this
before
guy
we
here.
conclude. I didn't smile yet. Shout out to all the Milan fans. I'm sorry about this, but we got to make fun of Antonio.
Yeah, that's
we're not
fine,
we're not
that's
getting
fine,
up
that's fine.
on Milan, but
So
if
all of a
if it was
sudden,
the other
Allegri's
way-
a great coach, guys. I'll take Allegri now over Pioli. I'll
You
take
want him back?
No, please keep
Now,
that.
so we spoke about intensity, right? And the differences in intensity. And Juventus came out like a bunch of rabid dogs against Lazio right away, pressing, going forward. Chiesa scores, Vlahovic scores. I saw a stat too. They have 7 combined goals so far in 4 games. All of last year, they had 12 combined goals. So they're already close to matching where they are. Vlahovic put all those injury problems behind him. All the rumors of the transfer market. Juventus trying to force him out to Chelsea, which never went through. Chelsea rejected him, which looking at where Chelsea is today, they probably would regret that. And he's unbelievable. When he gets the chance, he scores the goals. He gets 2 of them. And Juventus, when they play like that, when they play that right style with the right attitude and they go forward and they release a handbrake, they could be a team that fights for the top. But unfortunately, that's not the team that we always see.
Did the Lazio defense changed from last year? We have Romagnoli still there.
Same thing.
We have
Marusic, Casale, and Husay. Yeah.
But wait a moment, let me ask you something. Maybe this is another case of a hangover because Lazio was second last year. They did extremely well.
Yeah.
And one of the
Second best defenses.
After they bailed
and
out
one of
Europe.
the best things I was about to say was the second best defense. With Romagnoli being rejected from AC
Not
Milan,
yesterday.
goes to Lazio, becomes a top
And now
defender.
they have 3 defenders on Vlahovic, and
Right.
the guy's able to control the ball,
I don't-
shoot with his right foot outside the box with
I
no
don't
pressure.
get it. I really don't get it.
I think the big Juve were great. You got to give it to them. They were incredible. They were really were so hungry from the first second. Once the starting whistle blew, they were just all over Lazio. Didn't let them breathe. And Lazio, the only reason why they scored was a mistake. Who was it? They gave a loose ball.
It was between Bremer, Locatelli, and Cambiaso.
Locatelli. It was more Locatelli mistake
I thought it was
to
Bremer
me.
with the wrong back. Whatever the case was. But Juve looked really good. And there's no criticism for me for Juve. I think they played outstanding. The criticism for me is for Lazio. I mean, this is consistent inconsistency from Sarri and his team. From last season, we talked about it, to this season, to the season before. Just coming off beating the champions of Italy last game, and they put up this performance? I mean, what is that? You finish second place, you have Champions League coming up, and you come out, you play in the alley. Sarri, former Juventus coach, and you come out like that?
But Mike, let me ask you
What is
something.
that?
They lost Milinkovic. Who came in to replace
Kamada
Kamada.
and Guendouzi should have been the one that starts.
He's not a starter. Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
Kamada
They have
doesn't like the
Cataldi.
physical
Cataldi's
game.
a starter who...
But
I don't-
Cataldi plays in front of the defense.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
different.
It's Kamada
of those two that we named, none of them that can match the level of intensity
Yeah.
and the
But
quality.
it can't be one player that makes the
Anto,
difference.
but
Yes.
Anto,
No, it can't be.
Lazio to me
No.
is Milinkovic was Milinkovic Savic.
How about the rest of the
Did
team,
Milinkovic
though?
Savic defend?
They didn't-
No.
So what happened to the defense? How do you defend?
His tempo, his scoring capability.
Come on. He's not Leo and Messi. He doesn't
What?
make the difference for the team
I
like
mean,
that.
I definitely think he's the best player, but then again, it's
He
not
was
just
the
one
best player of
Okay,
Lazio.
but I'm not agreeing with you 100%. Because look at the rest of the team. What did Immobile? What did the rest of the attack? What did the defense do? They look horrible. Juve were all over them. It could have been more goals. I felt like they could have been. That was just an embarrassing performance for them.
Mike
and
is
that's not
right though.
acceptable.
Juventus gave them their goal. Without that,
Literally, it
I
would
never
have been
saw Lazio.
3-0.
I never saw Lazio
They
do
did-
anything to create a
Immobile,
chance.
what touches that? What did he do? Immobile
Nothing.
didn't do one positive thing
What
last
did he
game.
do in the national team? Nothing.
Well, that's a question that we bring up all the time. Immobile for me
He's done.
is not
Yeah.
the
But it's not just
top
him.
caliber
Not just him.
striker. He's been in the national team.
Okay,
for
but
so
he doesn't
long
do the defense
because
of Lazio.
yeah, but he also didn't do the attack. If that was the only if that's the only
That's true.
thing that you
Yeah,
remember
that's
is
true.
Luis Alberto scoring that goal. Immobile, I watched the game and he
Nothing.
was
Yeah.
atrocious.
No
every
factor.
touch is always like as if the ball is bouncing off of his foot.
Horrible.
But aside from that, I think Lazio overall played a terrible match. Like you said, Juventus, the approach to the game and the intensity of each and every player was here, and Lazio were here.
Literally.
You look at the midfield, Milinkovic-Savic is a big loss for Lazio. Maybe doesn't, show the loss that they just received versus Juventus
Yeah,
3-1. That's not all Milinkovic-Savic,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it
look
is
at
a
Napoli.
big point.
They were missing Milinkovic-Savic against Napoli.
Yeah,
So what are you gonna say for
it
that?
is a big
Wrong.
it is a big player that you're missing in this Lazio team.
That was
But
better.
I'll tell you why. Let him finish.
I would say that Lazio approach to this game, but the approach to the beginning of the season with Sarri complaining about his schedule and how
Oh,
this
yeah.
is wrong and that is wrong, and then he couldn't even win the 2 games that he was supposed to win. I think
The two where he was supposed to win.
Two
No, I'm
that
saying
he's supposed to
3
win.
out of 4 of good games he lost.
Yeah, but
As a second place finish
And
last
then-
season.
and
That's
then- and then you
unacceptable.
beat,
English.
okay,
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
Crazy.
the consistency has been something that we've been talking about. Lazio, when they're on, everybody's raving about his style.
You're
and
the first
Sarri
one
ball,
saying
and I am the
maestro,
first one.
maestro. Don't make me say
You know,
it.
and even defensively last year, I was saying, wow, Sarri's been able to also change his approach potentially with his defense and be able to maintain a top defense while also playing his style of play. But for right now, if I gotta say Gasperini is antipatico, Sarri is
Sarri,
just as
yeah.
Double
antipatico.
antipatico. Okay.
Juventus, you want to say Inter is favorite to win? Juventus is also a favorite to win.
No,
They
Alright,
have
first
no
place,
Europe,
No
second
Europe.
place.
no Europe,
No Europe.
no Europe.
That's what I put
No
them
Europe.
in. That's a
And
rankings
the
I put.
players that they have all have Champions League experience.
they're
But
top.
they're
all
nowhere.
top guys.
They're nowhere
So-
near Inter though.
But no, I don't want to hear
The
that.
first team's
I don't want to
very
hear
good.
that. I think
Compare- the first
Vlahovic
team's
Hey,
very
is
that,
on.
comparable.
midfield, those
Mike,
midfield
okay.
are night and day.
I'm
The
gonna
defense,
stick my
yo,
neck
the
out.
defense
Stick it
and
out,
midfield are so
Paisa.
different.
Hey, I'm
Oh,
gonna
Danilo, Bremer, these guys
Paisa.
Bro,
are.
Danilo, Bremer, and Gatti compared to Acerbi, Darmian.
We're talking about
Acerbi's
Acerbi.
not top
We're
of
talking
the
about
league.
Acerbi.
Do you guys
I'm
realize?
gonna stick
Yo,
my neck out.
That defense stopped Man City to score 1 goal.
Okay.
What do you think?
Bremer was a
Gatti,
Serie A
and
defender
Danilo
of the
were-
Are
year.
you kidding me?
Bremer
They're
was
much
a
better
Serie A
than Inter
defender.
defense.
Yeah, oh, you guys
Why
are
are we so
Yo,
wrong?
I'm gonna
crazy.
stick my neck out.
But we're going
This-
based off names
Mike,
also,
it's
right?
No, we're not. I'm going based on performance, not
I
names.
mean,
You are going
Paisa,
based off names.
You
What is
were
that?
you
5?
Paisa,
Juve's been look good defensively.
Mike,
gotta
I'm
talk
sticking my neck out.
Alexandro has
Mike.
defended Bremer.
Oh,
in-
I'm taking neck
in this season.
Mike, I'm sticking my
Yeah,
neck
okay.
out.
Do it.
As much as I hate Juventus, I would rather Juventus winning the campionato
okay, what does that
than
have
those
to do with
guys.
it?
Number
We know
one.
already.
Yeah, why
We know
Number
already.
two,
Why are you
we
bringing
have-
that up?
Stop showing me
Show
the
the
five.
five.
It's not
We
like
have
why do you
we-
keep doing this?
We were talking about Lazio, right?
You
We were
said that
talking about
part.
Lazio. We were talking about Lazio, right? Lazio against who?
You cannot do the 5.
So Lazio, we have the X factor and the no factor. Milinkovic Savic.
He's not the only player, man.
Milinkovic Savic,
What is
for
that?
the fact that he linked with Luis Alberto, he was the winning formula of Lazio. When you take that guy out, which is the X factor, the team disappears. Okay? The team disappears.
We don't
Now
need
you have
bleach-
Sarri.
bleach after this
Sarri,
podcast.
il maestro, il maestro, un maestro
He's
di che
foaming.
cacchio dici di maestro? Sarri's got no business. Sarri is not gonna make 6th place this year.
5-1.
Okay? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do that. Okay?
There's gonna be a lot of blurring this episode.
Yo, I can't believe it. Anyway, let's move on, please.
Let's move
Please.
on.
This is
Okay,
crazy.
I'm just
This
giving
is
you a
crazy.
compliment. It seems to me that you don't like compliment. I'm sticking my neck out for you.
But Anto, you can't also.
I got friends that are from
But Anto,
Juventus.
you can't also say Milinkovic is the only one in the team. There's 10 other players on the field, though.
Yeah, but a lot-
Come on, where's the urgency against you? They didn't
Mike, why
have
do you go back to the
anything.
There is
conversation?
something that you're
bro?
not getting.
Leave
It.
it.
When the guy, it's the center, it's the il fulcro.
I
We call it
get
in
it,
Italy,
yes,
on the
but
midfield.
still.
Everybody, all the plays goes through him. And then once you lose that guy, we have to go. You have to switch to somebody else. Luis Alberto and him. They were the two of them. They control all the midfield. Bam, bam. The fluidity was the two of them. Luis Alberto and Milinkovic Savic. You take Savic out, you're done.
Okay. About Juventus, by the way, a couple more things. McKennie played as a right wing back, which was surprising. You know, he was a player that had his luggage was packed over the summer. They were looking for destinations. They couldn't find the team that would pay him amount of money. Besides, I think Galatasaray, but of course he didn't want to go there. He wanted to
Of
play in.
course, jeez.
Yeah, because he wanted to.
said
I'm finishing what I'm saying. He wanted to play in one of the top European leagues, and Turkey is not one of those. So that's why he didn't go there. He had a bad time last year, and he put on a performance. He played great. His last game as a right wing back, his hustle, his intensity, his approach to the game, the way that he set up other goals. Locatelli as well, who I criticize him a lot, but when you play well, you got to give him credit. He played a really good game, distributing the ball, laying the passes off, and he needs to do that consistently because then that's where the Juventus midfield could be. And then last thing, thank God none of the deals went through for Vlahovic and Federico Chiesa, because without those two, nothing good would come from this Juventus side. 88% of their goals this season have been between the two of them. The fact that Chiesa plays closer to the goal already this season You see the
paying
impact.
off.
It should have been obvious. It should not have been that last year he was tracking defenders. But nevertheless, he's back. He looks healthy. He looks good. And hopefully they continue on this path. And hopefully he translates that also to the Italian national team, because we surely need somebody who could score goals. Any other topics besides going back on old stuff? Because I know, Antonio, you're ready to fight. You got a lot of rage on you.
I was going to say that real quick. Marco, I want to ask you, is Di Maria missed at all or no because of the formation?
Di Maria,
He was a big factor, and he surprised a lot of people.
No, they had to-
Quadrado, they're going to miss Quadrado, though.
I think they had to move on from that.
that?
Yeah. Just like they had to move on from a few key players in the locker room, Bonucci, and also Di Maria is not the type of player that's going to stay at that age at a team that's not playing in Champions League.
You brought up Bonucci. What's going on with this stuff here? You
He's in
guys.
Germany.
I know, but you guys
The interview.
didn't do the right thing with this guy here. The guy's he played over 500 games.
He was your
Juventus.
captain.
Listen, does it strike you? Juventus has done that with Del Piero.
I knew that was
Buffon.
coming.
I mean,
Marchisio.
and they call it la
Marchisio.
grande signora.
So
What
that's-
kind of a signora does
Yeah,
things like
well,
that?
we
in
know that.
Italy?
We know already that.
What do you mean you know already
Everyone has
that?
gone against Bonucci in this thing, but number one, we don't know all the facts.
Oh, yeah.
And number two, when you say there's a track history of Juventus not treating a lot of
They're
their legends,
legends.
whatever you want to consider Bonucci, you said it right.
He's a
He
legend.
played 500 games for the club. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, he was an important part of a lot of the winning teams of Juventus.
BBC.
Did he make mistakes? Has he said stupid stuff that none of us will agree with? Absolutely. But nevertheless, the way that they treat him, again, we don't know. It's he said, she said.
Yeah.
Allegri says one way, Bonucci says another. My only thing is, I would not be surprised at all if everything that Bonucci's saying about the way he was treated is true, just based on what you're saying about other times
But
in the
Marco,
past.
could that be that Giuntoli is one of them?
No, it's
Giuntoli-
Allegri and Bonucci.
We know that they never liked
And-
each other, but
But they say when Giuntoli came in July, he told him officially, you're out of the squad.
Yeah.
But Bonucci's mad because he says, for the entire rest of the time, I was talked about a renewal. I was talked about staying. Then they tell me mid-July, you got to go find another
it was
team.
kind of late for him the way. And
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
He doesn't
later
like the
than
way that he
thing.
was treated,
It
where
wasn't-
it's like,
yeah.
hey, yeah,
is
you're good, you're
Bonucci's
good.
wife a lawyer? No. Let me ask you something. No, I'll tell you the reasons why I'm asking you those. Because to go through legal routes the way Bonucci
He's
is going
making
through.
millions of dollars. He'll be all right.
You think so?
Yes.
Yeah, but hey, listen. You're just downplaying something that is very important. If this is happening to Bonucci, and tomorrow is going to happen, I don't know, maybe to Lautaro, or it's going to happen to I don't know, someone
It happens
else.
all the time.
Inter is very well run. I don't think they'll have
happens
a
all the
problem with
time.
So
that.
this is only Juventus' problem, you are saying, right?
It's a problem of Juventus. Look, even Cristiano Ronaldo is suing Juventus for 20 million euros. They have problem after problem after problem with these legal stuff because of poor decisions that were made in the past, and they're all slowly catching up to them one by one.
Exactly.
Some of them they're not at fault for, some of them they are.
Okay.
And that's not sticking up for a guy like Bonucci, who, to just be honest, is not a player that I like, is not even a person that I really like for a lot of the stuff
You got to give
that
him.
he's done.
Yeah, but not as a player.
When I read what he said, I said I could see that happening.
It's not crazy. Yeah,
Listen, he's
it's
taking his
believable.
stance, and a lot of times it's unheard of for the player to sue the team when it comes to this type of matter, because it was very evident that there was a new man in charge or whatever, Giuntoli coming in, and he said it as it is, and that has been his style. This is things that we've spoken about in the past, where he's my way or the highway type of guy when it comes to leadership.
Exactly.
I just want to say, because for the couple of games that I did enjoy, I know they're the middle of the table guys, but Monza, Lecce ended up in a draw, but these two teams have made amazing jump from last year coming to Serie B and now being able to be a thorn in anybody's side. And then I have to tip my hat to Di Francesco with Frosinone.
Yeah.
We were so wrong about him.
Which is unbelievable, because
You were so wrong. I never said anything
We all
about
said
the
that.
Francesco.
I would put my
Still
neck on the
early,
line in
still
the sense
early,
of
still
saying
early.
no, but Di Francesco, I thought after the Roma years,
Yeah, he's done.
he was done, because everywhere else that he's stepped his foot,
Disaster.
It hasn't gone the right way. And this Frosinone team
They look good.
looks as if
They look good.
they're building.
You're down
and then you're
2-0
coming
and
down,
score 4 goals.
to
That's
nothing
crazy.
to win.
He also
to go
took
back
a
to
hard
win.
job too, taking
easy.
Frosinone.
Yeah.
That I know that they were the best team last year, but Grosso left them
Yeah.
for a reason. There was, when we looked at the
Problem.
quality within the squad, we had question marks. But he's definitely been able to transmit his ideas. And so far, when you look at what they started with the season, they beat Atalanta. And now you beat Sassuolo, who I know Sassuolo is one of the lower teams. We're not happy with where they are, but still, it takes a lot of character for a team from Serie B to come back like
Di
that.
Francesco also was probably running out of money. He was unemployed for a few years, so he was like, let me see what I could get from this
And
one.
guess what?
It's working out for him.
Sassuolo this year has
They're
not come
shaky.
into a great
They're very
season.
shaky.
They lost a lot of more players now, and it's like, hey, what's going on? So, hopefully, Berardi, the leader, is going to be able to.
You know who
Good-
else
good
is like
luck,
that?
buddy.
Empoli. Empoli
Empoli
is
was
garbage.
another one.
They
Seven
lost
garbage
players.
to Roma.
Yo,
Yeah.
7 nothing. That's 5 plus 2 against 7.
Have you
Zero
have you
against
understand what he
Yeah.
did? Did you see what he did? The hand signals again?
Dybala scored 2 goals.
So today they lost 7
They let
nothing.
Lu-
They were 4 nothing.
They let Lukaku score on them. That's the biggest one.
Lukaku
Dude,
scored.
Lukaku scored on
Dybala
them.
scored.
But Lukaku's old news. We
I
have
would love
Thuram.
Lukaku to become
We have Thuram.
capocannoniere.
Yeah, capocannoniere di dove?
Good
Like
luck,
you
buddy.
say, maestro di chi? È capocannoniere
against
di
Inter,
dove?
that'll be nice. Oh my god, I can't wait to see Roma Inter.
That's
Good
going to
on
be
you.
a
Wait,
match.
Can't wait.
By the
That's
way,
going to be a match.
That's gonna be real.
I can't wait for the striscione.
I'm not blinking that
Oh
game.
my
I'm gonna be like this
God.
that game.
I like to see Mourinho rub it in.
I can already tell
that's
you how that
gonna
game's going to go.
That's gonna be a tasty game.
I'm going to Italy to watch that game.
Let's
I'm
go.
telling you. Oh yeah.
Good on Roma to get a big win. I think the fan base needed it. They pack out their Olimpico all the time. Their
Yeah,
fans.
for sure.
Okay, it's against Empoli, but this is also an Empoli side who not everyone has been able to do it in that sort of fashion against them. The team is built awful from Empoli side, but for Roma, they had some rotation players to come in. Renato Sanchez scored and then went off. I think it was halftime for Bove. So good job from that. And Dika started. So hopefully, but you can't read too much into a game against Empoli. But either way, scoring 7 goals, it's
And
nice.
Rui Patricio clean sheet. Can't say that every weekend, right, Marco?
It's only going to happen against Empoli.
Or Milan.
Be nice. Be nice, okay?
All right, I'll try. Guys, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ragazzi.
Ciao, guys. And Forza?
Forza Inter.